Hi guys, it's ASBYT and I've been using the Huawei P40 Pro for just over a week now, and this is my full review. How long does the battery last? Actually, how good is the much hyped camera? What's the app gallery like? And what's it actually been like to use this phone as my daily driver? The good points, things that could be improved, and if you're a Huawei fan, smash a like on the video. Right, so if you've never held a recent Huawei flagship phone, you won't have experienced just how good their hardware is. And it's only really in using this phone over the last week or so that I've realised just how far ahead they are in this department than many other current flagships. The build quality is really excellent. From the industrial feeling firm clicky buttons to the refined sloping edges of that quad curve display, meaning just wiping down for your notifications feels liquid smooth, all the way through to the majestic frosted glass finish on the rear, which not only is incredibly premium, but also practical for avoiding all those yucky smudgy fingerprints. This frosted silver is hands down my favourite finish on a phone right now, and in fact the only thing I don't like about this phone from an aesthetic build point of view is that pill-shaped camera punch hole cutout at the top left-hand side. It does, however, house some great camera equipment, which we will get to shortly, and the infrared face recognition scanner, which while not quite as fast as some of the less secure 2D recognition systems available, it is more secure and works well even in the darkest environments, which has been really useful. As has the fingerprint scanner, quick and accurate, although personally in an ideal world I would prefer the scanner to be slightly lower on that display. Now another thing that's more than useful, critical in fact for a lot of you, is having that all-day battery. So when Huawei announced that they were going to include the same 4200 mAh battery cell inside this as in the P30 Pro, a few eyebrows were raised, including my own. But now having used this, I can kind of see why they did it. As well as only taking around an hour to fully charge from flat using the 40 watt supercharge inside the retail box and the 27 watt fast wireless charging, Huawei's battery optimization is nothing short of incredible. In everyday kind of normal use, it can last up to 2 days with a massive 8 hours of screen on time, sometimes even with some serious media consumption and gaming. Because of this, it's no wonder that Huawei decided not to go with a larger battery cell, because it meant that they could stay with this more manageable form factor, which in a sea of humongous flagship smartphones currently out there right now, this is refreshingly easy to use with one hand. Long gaming sessions are doable because of this, and the sloping edges and corners all around make it feel as comfortable in the hand as a phone can be. Of course, it's not going to be as comfortable as a console controller, but come on. The infinity display and the 90Hz refresh rate also both aid that gaming experience. Now, if you have made that point that it's 90Hz and not 120 that we have seen in a fair few flagship smartphones in 2020, but to be honest, considering I use a lot of different smartphones, I've noticed the jump between 60 and 90 feels, certainly even if it's not factually, it feels like a bigger jump than the 90 to 120. The Kirin 990 SoC that is powering the P40 Pro is now about 6 months old, so yes, some will be looking forward to Huawei's next chip at the back end of this year, but right now it's still one of the most powerful available. Yes, I have noticed a couple of drop frames every now and again during PUBG, but outside of that, it's been an excellent immersive experience. Now very quickly, if you are enjoying this video so far, a sub would be amazing. Now, of course, we can't talk about Huawei phones, and in particular the P series of Huawei phones, without talking about camera. For this series of phone, it's an area where they go all in, often with elements resembling camera components, but also, and more importantly, in sheer performance. And quite frankly, apart from a couple of things that I would possibly tweak, which we'll get to, the P40 Pro does not disappoint. The main 50 megapixel RYYB sensor allows in up to 40% more light. This allows you to take shots that are lower in noise and have great dynamic range. It also helps that ridiculously good night mode, which I still feel is best in class. Some say the shots look a little bit artificial, and while that may be true, I would prefer to see that information than not. And of course you can edit in post if you so wish. I have found from a software point of view that some photos come off a little soft, especially in portrait and aperture modes, where the focus roll-off is subtle, avoiding harsh abrasive edges, which can often be caused by certain blur effect software. This makes some focus points in shots look slightly less striking maybe, but certainly more natural. Whether that's a good thing or not for you will come down to personal preference, as some people find that over-sharpened processing a little bit yucky. The 40 megapixel ultra wide angle lens is a much larger sensor than last year's model, providing greater detail and better low light performance again. The The 12 megapixel periscope lens, in my experience, produces its finest work in the 5x optical and 10x hybrid zoom lengths, where the detail and stabilization is really stellar. I haven't noticed a huge difference in the image quality at 50x zoom from the previous P40 Pro, but it certainly feels more stable and thus you're able to get better shots. And all in all, it's just really fun to play around with, especially looking at things like wildlife. Selfies from that 32 megapixel lens are also impressive and seem much sharper in the details from previous devices that have always seemed to add a kind of beautify mode. Great shots regardless of lighting conditions, and the only things I'd like to see improved would be probably the dynamic range, especially in bright sky conditions, which sometimes can get a little blown out, and also from a completely subjective point of view, I'd like to see maybe just a little bit of vibrancy on that color temperature, as sometimes shots can just look a little bit bland. Nothing Adobe Lightroom can't fix, of course, and shout out to the Lightroom king, Tommy, aka Gadgets Boy. Gotta smash that dehaze, baby. Now, video has also seen huge upgrades this year, providing 4K at 60 frames a second both on the rear and on the front-facing camera with some decent stabilization. I also feel the audio is improved as well, and the overall video package is certainly an upgrade from the P40 Pro. Right, so all of this so far seems really high-end, right, especially from a hardware point of view. But the question on many people's lips is, what's it like to use the P40 Pro from a software point of view, from an app's compatibility point of view? Well, firstly, EMUI 10.1 running over the top of Android 10 has had some really nice upgrades. It's a lot cleaner, closer to stock, with a few nice features like the sidebar for app shortcuts, and an interface that also takes advantage of an app drawer, something that I have personally chosen to use. It's clean, it's snappy, it's really all you would need. And moving on from that point, let's talk about apps. Now yes, as stated, we are running Android, but of course we don't have the Play Store for downloading apps, we have the brand new Huawei App Gallery. Now Huawei have ploughed a lot of time and effort into this, and it's really beginning to take shape. There are already a huge amount of apps on there, and it's growing all the time. Huawei also have a great bit of software called Phone Clone, which when I switched out my SIM last week into this, it allowed me to easily copy pretty much every single app that was on my old device straight onto here. And some of those apps that I'm now using flawlessly on here weren't available on the Huawei App Gallery. And for those apps that need Google services to run, I've just created home screen shortcuts from Google Chrome after I was able to download the APK for that. So from using both Phone Clone and downloading specific apps and APKs from websites and using shortcuts, I've pretty much got everything I need on my smartphone. Sports apps, media streaming, gaming, and of course the Huawei Mail app, which allows you to sync it up with Gmail. So again, I feel I'm covered there. These shortcuts aren't of course perfect, but they're certainly more than usable. And for all the great things about this device and the fact it's future-proofed being 5G compatible, it's an area I feel I'm ready to adapt in. If Huawei can continue to develop the app gallery and continue to develop and tweak software to optimize app use, then this, the P40 Pro, is a hell of a phone. Now I've actually teamed up with Huawei to give you a fantastic offer. If you order the P40 Pro from the Huawei Store, you get a pair of Huawei Freebuds 3 completely free. Simply add the P40 Pro and the Freebuds 3 to your basket and use the code ASBYT in the checkout. Grab it quick because offer expires 13th of April, T&Cs apply. Comment below what you think of the P40 Pro hardware and software. What do you think about the Huawei App Gallery? Is it something you would like to try? Like and share the video if you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Dislike the video if you hate my face. Subscribe if you want to be notified every time I post a video on anything tech, news, unboxings, reviews. I'll love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. Says ASBYT, peace out.
Do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
To optimize app use, then this, the P40 like and share the video if you found it helpful. Like the video if you